The future belongs to service providers who innovate without limits. That's why the fastest growing service providers are choosing the NetSapiens platform. Visit netsapiens.com.
Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to have with me today Max Silber, Vice President of Mobility and IoT at MetTel. Max, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on the show, Doug.
So the big headline is MetTel delivers industry's first multi-carrier agnostic connected laptop as a service via single SIM. But the sort of subheadline and maybe even the bigger piece of news here is we're actually going to be talking about the laptop and its possibility as a wallet share and for the enterprise is something maybe we really should be focusing on. We all live off of our laptops, and yet I have to admit, rarely do I speak of laptops on this podcast. So that's we're gonna look at that a little bit. But before we dive into that, Max, what is MetTel?
So MetTel is actually a global wholesale provider of managed network services, and that's everything from wireline access to POTS replacement to what I do for the company, which is any mobile device deployed out to enterprise. Could be an iPhone, a Samsung device, could be a tablet, could be a IoT connected widget. So anything along that managed network services all around those types of endpoints.
So, Max, it seems to me that when we talk about enterprise mobility and that whole landscape, the scenery has sort of changed. Tell me a little bit about what's happening. Has that evolved?
Oh yeah, it is night and day, certainly over the last 4 to 5 years. And I think a lot of people don't realize what's going on. Currently, you have around 23% of employed Americans actually have a laptop issued to them by an organization. And to give you a sense of scale, you're looking at 34 to 35 million users out there with laptops. So we identified that as a significant problem statement, specifically the organization's ability to manage how you deploy, how you manage day to day, and then how you decommission those laptops. So you've got this huge, what we essentially categorize as remote workers. That 34 million did, or 35 million did some point of remote work in 2025. So we know that's someone that needs essentially a laptop on the go. We also know some staggering number. It's over 84% of organizations have a management gap. They've actually said we can't effectively manage these laptops out in the field. And then when we asked them around the third element, which is the time constraint, they've actually mapped it out. It takes 795 hours every year to manage every 1,000 machines. So you're looking at like 100 days out of every organization just to manage per 1,000 laptops. So that level of IT workload is actually at an all-time high, and it's something that every single vertical, every single organization out there is actually dealing with today.
So, Max, it's a very pleasant day in May or June. And I say, oh, you know what? I think I'll take my laptop to the local coffee place or sandwich place, and I'll do a little bit of AI work there. We do a little bit of generative AI tool work and so on. I've got my VPN. I must be secure. I don't even, if I'm an employee, maybe I'm not even thinking about it. I log on and start working. What have I just done?
So more than likely, you've committed several, horrific IT violations. The first one is you've connected to what you believe, and in all good intent, you believe you're connected to a secure network.
Right, sure.
Cyber criminals know this. They target places like Starbucks. They target your local coffee shop. They issue network names, network IDs that are similar, if not the same, of that coffee shop. And more likely than not, first and foremost, you're already on some kind of phantom network. So you've already initiated some form of violation. The second one is I'm sure you're a good guy, Doug. I'm sure you always follow policy. The majority of people do not log into the VPN, even though they're supposed to, unless they're trying to access specific files that can only be accessed through VPN access. So, more likely than not, you've not only gone on a public Wi Fi that's unsecured, but you've done that without initiating your VPN, or maybe you tried to initiate it and it timed out after 20 minutes or so, and now you're just like, well, I got to get this done, so I'll just go ahead and do that. So that's another big element, the security aspect, and that's why we didn't just launch connected laptop as a service for the laptop management aspect of it. We actually bundled it together with our multi-carrier single SIM, because now you've got secure 5G access to that user, regardless of whether it's the coffee shop, the airport, or in my case, because I travel quite a bit, I could be in the back of an Uber doing this interview right now. That's the concept of enhancing productivity and always on connectivity for the user that's secure.
Multi-carrier, how did you put it? Multi-carrier eSIM?
Yeah, it's a multi-carrier service. It can be provided to a machine via a physical SIM card or an eSIM connection, but the concept of multi-carrier is it's going to hop around wherever you are geographically. It's going to attach to the best possible carrier to give you the best speed, give you the best throughput, and no interaction required from the end user. This is all about the machine talking back to our network saying, hey, my signal level is going down slightly. Maybe it's time to start a hunt sequence for the next available carrier. Or like I said, I'm in the back of an Uber as I'm driving, I'm obviously not driving, I'm being driven in the back of an Uber. Networks are changing. Networks are not consistent everywhere. So that's a big productivity enhancement that's come out of this change in the business model.
So you're talking about multi-carrier, but before we started our podcast today, you described something called single carrier dependency. What is that?
So traditionally, if organizations wanted to deploy any kind of edge device, including laptops with connectivity, they would activate on a chosen carrier. So they
Right.
pick one of their, let's call it the top three in the US market or wherever around the globe, pick their preferred carrier and provision for that preferred carrier. The problem is we know there is no single carrier that has, complete coverage everywhere. I love them all, but the reality is, I always say to everyone, did you see the TV commercial where they paint the map red or blue or magenta? Said that's marketing. That's not reality. If you service enterprise customers within the US or North American footprint or anywhere else, you know really well that that's not a reality, and that you're going to need to pick a carrier based on a specific geography. So having the single carrier dependency really decreases overall productivity, because at some point you're just not going to have good carrier access. That's why we take this, as opposed to single carrier, we provide you with the multi-carrier access SIM card that's going to auto hunt and auto connect you to the best available service.
And so in the press release, you guys talk about something called multi-carrier single SIM technology. So what is that?
So multi-carrier single SIM technology is essentially, you almost have to think of it as a cloud-based routing engine. And the machine, it's actually the laptop, or it could be a smartphone or a tablet as well, tells us what the signal strength is based on where you are geographically and what the device is experiencing. And based on that, we can trigger the device to start searching for a next available carrier, attach itself to it, and then flip over the connection to the new carrier to provide for that seamless experience for the end user. So a much better overall experience, maximizing really the uptime that user has on a network, on a secure network. And with 5G speeds that we have today, you can't even really tell the difference between, traditional Wi-Fi access versus cellular access, because we're already, streaming north of 250 megabits per second on those connections. So, it really is enterprise ready at this point, and a much better experience.
Now, before we move on with the next item here, let's go back to the fellow that went to the Starbucks with his laptop to use a little bit of AI in a project that he's doing. Using your technology, how does that change? Because you just said, well, you just blew through a bunch of safety issues and created a huge vulnerability by the way, and the person probably thought, hey, I logged onto my network. What's the problem?
Yeah, so you need that constant connectivity first and foremost, because if you're using AI, like we're all using AI, you really, most of your work is really on the upload side. So you're really prompting it. And then there's a large language model sitting essentially in the cloud. And it doesn't matter if you're using Copilot or Claude or, kind of pick your favorite, Gemini, whatever you like. It's still the same experience. You have to upload all your prompts and then you get the download, a much smaller download as far as the output or the response typically. But to do that in a secure format starts with having good access, and it starts with having secure access. So that's where you're removing all those variables of potentially someone is, intercepting some of the communication. And as you're prompting up, those are your login credentials as well. In some cases, it's tokens for APIs. You're removing a lot of that risk by just keeping the connection completely secure over a cellular connection. That's part of the embedded way that your laptop now operates in that coffee shop.
Let's turn to the enterprise for a second. For enterprise readers, you kind of mentioned before we began today that there's like a lot of IT time now spent on, there's some sort of ratio between the amount of hours you're spending and the number of laptops that are out there that you're protecting.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at like 100 days for every 1,000 laptops, which is significant. And you have to
Wow.
remember, when we say management, you got the deployment aspect of it, which traditionally may even include enterprises having to pre-buy laptops, get a pallet delivered of 50 laptops at a time. And
Right.
then those laptops just sit there until someone gets hired. So in some cases, they're managing those laptops, but then they're also managing the fact that maybe by the time that laptop gets deployed, you've got, we don't even know how many updates required to get that laptop field ready. And that user is also now getting a laptop that might be 8 months or 10 months old. And you're basically depreciating that asset sitting in house. So that's another big piece, is we're really changing the model from that traditional CapEx model to an OpEx model, where you're really buying just in time. When you have a new employee coming in, we're integrating into your internal systems, your HR system, your ticketing system. So as soon as we get that request, we prep a laptop, we scan it into your existing Microsoft Office 365 environment, for example, and then that laptop is ready for shipment same day. So you can fulfill those orders, and now you can do it without IT having to do anything. They really just have to do that initial integration and connection to MetTel to be able to just process orders and get out of the laptop management space for deployment, for ongoing management, and then of course for decommissioning, where we have to reclaim the machines, wipe them, issue NIST-based data wipe certificate onto the same IT ticket to close the loop on that for compliance purposes. All those are what's really eating away at that 100 or so days per 1,000 laptops. And now we're giving back the organization, the enterprises, those 100 days. And that really means for most organizations, having IT people go back to doing the job for which they were hired, which, believe it or not, was not taking care of end users' laptops day in and day
Right.
out.
So, Max, as we wrap up today, a lot of the partners, channel partners, MSPs, and so on, forever. This is a forever question. I've always wondered, a lot of them, anyways. How can I win, especially at the enterprise level? It's hard to do. Is this a way in with the enterprise?
100%. For 14 years, I joined MetTel 14 years ago, started the mobile division in MetTel. And for 14 years, when we've sold smartphones, tablets, the question I've gotten on every one of those meetings is, by the way, can you guys do anything to help me with the laptops? So this is a problem that everybody has. And this is a problem that the channel hasn't had an opportunity
Right.
to participate in. So this is a huge opportunity. It's become a massive door opener into existing accounts, into new accounts, to just start with the basic questions. How are you handling your laptop deployment and reclaimment program today? What are some of the challenges you're bumping into? As part of this, we're solving for the investment problem, the CapEx problem. That goes away, becomes an OpEx, and we are automating the entire process so that IT doesn't have to waste all that time. So you really are providing a great service and a great solution to your customers. So something I strongly encourage anyone on the reseller agent side to really take a look at across their entire portfolio of customers.
Max, I really want to thank you for joining me today. This has been really interesting. Like I said, when do I ever talk about laptops? We're all using them. There's certainly a point of entry for security issues and so on. And yet rarely have we discussed it as an opportunity or anything else for that matter. So Max, thank you very much indeed. Where can we learn more?
Certainly go to MetTel.net. Lots of information on MetTel.net just to get you started. If you have a channel director that you work with today, reach out to your MetTel channel director or shoot us a note, info@mettel.net, and someone will get back to you with more specific information, whether you're an enterprise, whether you're a distributor, and point you in the right direction.
Innovate without limits, scale without compromise, and never pay per seat again. Discover why providers choose netsapiens.com.